Hello and welcome to Right from the Kickoff with your host William Bayliss, and as always, we're joined by the one and only Joe Wright. How you doing, Joe?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Lots of interesting games. Obviously, we missed last week, which we'll go on to explain, but lots of interesting games this week and talking points as always, especially with the transfer window.
Yeah, so that shirt a few days ago now, and some great signings coming in for a few teams, isn't it? Obviously, we'll get on to that. Uh, but before we get kicked off, remember to like the video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And yeah, let's get right into it, shall we, Joe? And
Yeah,
again, sorry for last week. I was in hospital. I won't go into too much detail, but that's why we couldn't make it. So, as far as excuses go, I think that's fair enough, isn't it, Joe?
yeah. I feel like I'll let you off on that one. To be honest,
I
it's,
know you didn't scold me too much.
you practically had to end up on your deathbed for me to be all right with it. But yeah,
But I'm 95%. I'm not quite match fit yet, but still, I'm healthy, so I'm back into training, aren't I, Joe?
I don't really feel like you've ever been match fit. So I think you're
But
about as
yeah,
fit
that's
as
a
you've
good
ever
point.
been.
Depends how you define it. But yeah,
Yeah.
let's get right into it. So the first game of the weekend was an absolute cracker, wasn't it? It was Man City Arsenal. Now, Joe, I want you to talk me through this game.
I
What did
mean,
you think of it?
just yeah, let's look at it from an Arsenal point of view. It was just embarrassing, wasn't it? Um, Obviously, first sort of quarter of an hour, they were 2-0 down. Lovely little bit of passing, as you'd expect from Man City. Obviously, they haven't got a recognised number nine, so they're going to dominate. They're going to dominate the ball in midfield. Gundogan was allowed to turn nice and easy straight onto Arsenal's back four, and then we know with Arsenal's injuries, I'll give them that. You know that they've not got their kind of recognised back four in White and Gabriel as two of the centre mids that are missing. But they just really struggled holding, and Kolasinac, which I think a lot of Arsenal fans weren't really were just absolutely run ragged. So they went 2-0 down, and then Xhaka once again, fourth red card in his Arsenal career, 11th overall. So we know, he's given the captaincy, you know, all of this, and gets himself sent off. They are 2-0 down before the sending off, so the game's not going to change because of that. And then, of course, Man City have a record 91% possession for the rest of the game. I mean, we're talking this could have been 9 of 10, really, aren't we, Will? Uh,
Yeah, like it was unbelievable. Like I feel like the game, regardless of the sending off, it probably would have been 5-0 anyway. To be fair, wouldn't it? It was
yeah,
just they just run and ragged, didn't they? And in terms of Arsenal, I know they're missing a lot of players and such, but would you say that they're also missing a leader? I know you said Xhaka was captain, but he's a liability. Is he a good
oh,
role model for the club?
no, no, he's let them down time and time again. There's a lot of Arsenal fans that I know personally and seen online that are just kind of like he needs to get out of the club. They should have taken the 15 million bid from Roma because obviously Roma did come in for a bid with him after the Euros, and then they turned that down because they think he's worth more, which I don't agree with. I don't think he is worth more. And then they sign him a new contract. I think Arsenal as a club as a whole, we could have a podcast just not Arsenal at this point, but they are a shambles. And they obviously sitting dead last in the Premier League with their rivals, Tottenham in first at the moment with 3 wins out of 3. So it's not a good time to be an Arsenal fan. But switching to that, and I'm going to ask the question: how well did Man City play? Obviously, we're saying that they didn't have to do much, but are you confident as a Man City fan? Obviously, two 5-0 wins back to back against Norwich previous week, and then Man City. Do you feel like they bounced back from the opening day defeat?
100%, yeah. And we all know that sometimes Tottenham Man City have a odd game where they can almost let themselves game. They kind of get the here to get to the better of them, and I think we saw that against Tottenham. But now they're back on it now, and I think for me, it'll be a dead shootout between them and Chelsea for the title. I know you probably
I
think the same, but obviously Man U might have something to say, but
yeah,
they're
literally
still missing a holding midfielder, aren't they?
yeah, they are, but I think with the signings, obviously, what that will go on to in the section after this, after the games, I think signing a particular person, I think is going to make a massive difference. But yeah, I think Man City will be looking forward now. So yeah, should we move on to the next game?
Yeah, let's move on to the next game. And there was another cracker. It was Liverpool Chelsea. Now these two rivalries, I thought Chelsea, the first half before the red card and the penalty, I thought Chelsea were right on top, and obviously they went 1-0 up. And but after that, after the sending off and the Liverpool penalty to make it 1-1, I didn't think Liverpool did enough. They didn't create enough, and I think they were just a bit lackluster, weren't they?
I
Really?
think I think the thing is, and I was talking to this again with some Liverpool fans, and I think you saw it last season when they were going through their kind of difficult patch. When they lost to Burnley, when they lost to the likes of Fulham, they had. I think they also lost to Brighton as well. Um, there was a kind of a common theme with these teams, and it was the fact that the teams are playing the low block, so they weren't allowing them to break down. Actually, I think Chelsea going down to 10 men, especially with the way Tuchel is kind of very defensively sound, did make it very hard for them in terms of breaking the team down. Obviously, they always say if you're playing against 10 men, you should win. But I think Chelsea, again, we know how resolute their back line is. You look at Christian, you look at Rudiger, you look at players like that. Aspilicueta seems to have come into his own again. We know how sound a defender he is, and Alonso as well, keeping Chilwell out of the side. So these are good defenders, and they just really struggled to break them down. Question back to you, Will. Do you think it was it? Because I know we were talking whilst the game was on. Do you think it was a sending off for James? And if so, if not, why not? But if it was, why was it?
My opinion on this has actually changed since I last spoke
I
to you
thought
privately,
it.
Joe. So
I thought it might.
initially, I thought, yeah, it's a definite penalty, but I wasn't sure if it was a red card. But on reflection and having thought about it on my, level-headed head, I think that because of the movement was going forward, if it just bounced up and ricocheted off his arm, that's one thing. But because he kind of it was a natural reaction to like go forward with the ball, but he did make that movement forward. Now, if it hit his knee and just bounced off it normally, I would say it's a penalty, but it'll be a bit harsh to give that a red card as well because it wasn't intentional.
I think but I think the way it works now is obviously if he's directly stopped the ball going in the back of the net, regardless of whether he meant it or not, it is going to be a red card, especially in that situation. I think anywhere else in the box, I think you've got a case, but the letter of the law in that situation, if he blocks the ball on the line, regardless of whether it ricochets off his knee or whatever, I think you are always. I'm not disagreeing with you per se, but I think you're always fighting a losing battle in the terms of
Yeah, no,
just the position of the player.
I do agree with you, but it's because it came off his knee. Like, was it going in? It's a bit subjective, but because he pushed it forward, then he did have it intention. So in my head, that's why I think it's also a red card in that scenario.
Of course. We. I think it's a good result for Chelsea. I think personally, if the man hadn't been sent off, I think they'd have gone on to win it.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously Salah scoring the penalty. From the resulting red card, I didn't really see Liverpool breaking Chelsea down otherwise. So I just feel like Chelsea are maybe, because obviously we know that Liverpool haven't made any signings. I think that Chelsea maybe are looking at being the being the challengers to Man City's title this season, and I'm more and more kind of thinking that, to be honest, just because, like I say, there's not really any fresh blood in Liverpool. I'm not saying Liverpool haven't got some fantastic players, but we saw last season when they did struggle, they perhaps did need one or two new players just to freshen it up, not necessarily get into the first side, but just to freshen, kind of have new minds and stuff, which they've not done. So
yeah, I mean, they've only signed a centre back in Kanota, haven't they? Obviously, they did need an extra centre back.
yeah,
But I don't feel like it was enough.
yeah. I mean, when I say to people that Liverpool should be disappointed, we are talking about Liverpool in terms of challenging for a title. I think they're still very much top four contenders and probably easily going to get into the top four. That's not being decided. We are talking about Liverpool pushing for another title, and I just don't think they've got enough there to do that. I think in terms of top four, they'll be absolutely fine. But we're talking about Liverpool on the level of Man City and Chelsea now. Do you know what I mean? Who are
Yeah, but at the same time, I think Liverpool personally will finish fourth. But there's a lot of good fifth or sixth or seventh teams. Have a look at Tottenham. Have a look at West Ham. These are all really, really good teams on the day, and I think they could have the potential to push Liverpool. I know that's crazy to say,
Don't
but
forget the team, Leicester.
we'll get on to that. But I just use those two an example. Like Tottenham, everyone wrote them off before the season, but 3 wins in 3,
Yeah.
you have to
I will.
say they have a chance of finishing top 4 now.
Stop your train. Stop your train. Tottenham have done very well so far. I'm not denying that. And yes, I can see you getting excited because you're actually a secret Tottenham fan. We all know that.
That is
Right.
not, you just made that up.
But let's not forget what happened last season. And we're not even talking about the fact that they imploded in November, December time. So let's just, they were top of the league under Mourinho, if you remember. They've played Watford, they've played Wolves, and they played Man City, granted. But realistically, you'd expect them to perhaps beat those teams. Let's just slow the train down a bit, Will. Slow the train down a bit, and let's not.
Joe, I never said that they were going to get a top 4, but you have to show them some respect now.
No, I don't. I think this is classic Tottenham. I think a lot of Tottenham fans have spoken to Tottenham fans. They've started fast out the gate in the last sort of 3-4 seasons. So I'll be willing to concede if they're still going strong in sort of February, March time. I'm not going to be saying give them loads of respect just because they've got 3-1-0 wins. Under a new manager, got a bit of blood, got a bit, Harry Kane's come back in, so of course they're going to be on a bit of a high. No, I'm not giving them the respect that you're wanting me to give them.
No respect from Joe. You've heard it there first. Slaughter him.
No, yeah, exactly. I'm going to get slaughtered. Right, should we move on to because we were going to do the transfers before the games. Should we move on to the transfers? Just a little bit what we think about those.
Yeah.
So obviously,
I'll let you start, Joe.
Yeah, well, obviously the big one for me, I mean, obviously Lukaku coming in, we thought that was going to be the big one, but massive one, and one I'm really glad that was completed just for the Premier League, is Cristiano Ronaldo, CR7 coming back into the Premier League. I mean, what did you make of it, Will? We kind of got wind that it might be Man City, and then it quickly changed to United. I'm not surprised at that for a start.
I mean, what a soap opera, eh? We saw Man U fans burning their Ronaldo shirts, and now they want to unburn them because obviously he signed for Man United. He's a Man U legend.
He's always going to, Will. I mean, I know it's easy to say now it's happened, but I did have a feeling. I think me and you both said, didn't we? Actually, that I wouldn't be surprised if he signs for United. I just think it was all the way it happened. He was never really going to sign for Man City. I just don't think he believed that. I don't think the people close to him, they probably knew he wasn't going to sign for City. So I just feel like, yes, it was a soap opera on the outside of things, but again, reporters can get stuff wrong. They can kind of ham stuff up, get the fans riled up, and yeah, he's at United now, and I'm sure United fans are really happy, and it's going to be one hell of a return back story, I think, for Ronaldo.
Yeah, and are you calling it now a hat trick on his first game back?
I wouldn't be surprised if he scores. I'm not going to go as far to say a hat trick. I mean, he's capable, no doubt. I'm not saying he's not going to, but I never want to say hat trick on the first time back. But yeah, I think maybe 1 or 2 goals, probably maybe a couple of assists. But we're talking when people, and we had this conversation, didn't we? And the reason I want to talk about it is because obviously you were kind of saying how you think that maybe he might struggle, not struggle, but he won't have the same impacts and stuff. And obviously he's not an out and out striker, which he is now. By the way, he's developed his game into being an out and out striker. Because I'm going to give you a stat now, which we were talking about before the show, but I didn't give you the stat. Last 3 seasons, how many goals has he scored for Juventus?
Oh, for Juve, it's going to have to be over 50 at least. Over 3 seasons, easily over 50.
Go on.
I'm going to go 62.
62. Well, you're way off. It's 101.
Really? No
101
way.
goals. 101 goals. That's including league and cup and stuff. But for Juventus, he's got 101 goals.
That is crazy. Fair play to him. And do you think he's going to be top goal scorer in the Premier League this season, though?
I think he's ask me that question in a couple of weeks.
Let's see how he does first.
And the reason I say that is because, as much as he's done really well in the Italian leagues and Spanish leagues and all those they are slightly slower paced, games. We know that the Premier League's frantic. I'm not saying that the English league is better. I just think it's a different style of play. So you see it where players come from overseas and they do struggle sometimes to acclimatise. And again, I know he's played in the Premier League before, so we know he can do it. But we are talking sort of 12, 13 years ago now that he was in the Prem. Do you know what I mean? I think it might be 11. But yeah, something. So it's quite a while ago. So, and also he's a lot older. So it'll be interesting to see. I have no doubt that he's got the capability of being a top scorer. But he is, when people say, oh, I'm not sure. We're talking about, Messi and Ronaldo. We're talking about two of the super players of their generation. We're talking about God level kind of players here. So when people say, oh, I'm not sure he can do it, well, you can take a run and jump because this is Ronaldo. We're not talking about, we're not even talking about Lukaku level. We're talking about Ronaldo. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I tell you what, the Premier League season, I think this is one of the strongest Premier Leagues in years. Like, how many top players are signing for teams and such? Like, Chelsea signed Sol, didn't they?
Yeah.
So many top teams. It's just unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we talk, and I think even your clubs like West Ham, Tottenham themselves, they managed to keep hold of Harry Kane. You look at Leicester as well. They've all strengthened. They have all strengthened. I mean, but it's just everybody else has around them, so they've needed to. And you look at, and that's why you do worry for a Liverpool per se for not really strengthening, because you look at the teams around them, they really have. I mean, Man City, they've brought in Grealish, for 100 million, and he's a top quality player, and we know that. We've seen that from the first couple of games, the way he's been able to operate in that Man City side. So, it's scary, isn't it? Almost, it's scary. You do feel like any one of these kind of top 3, top 4 teams could potentially have won a league or two in the last couple of seasons. Actually, it's that strong. Do you know what I mean?
It's been unbelievable.
You get that feeling.
But for you, Joe, who do you think's had the best transfer window?
I think United have got to be up there with bringing in Sancho. They brought in Varane as well, don't forget. And obviously Ronaldo now.
I would say for me, a colleague at work described Man U as a donut because they've got everything else set that they needed an out-and-out CDM. They have so many CDMs, but none of which you would say are world class. Would you?
I mean,
really?
You wouldn't. But I think the one thing you will say is they're gonna have to maybe play a different way, put a little bit of pressure off that position. I know it's a key position in every football team. Don't get me wrong, but the talent that they have got now could put that difference. And I think they've really got a key partner in for Maguire and Varane. I think he's a top quality centre back. It's what they needed. You know, when you think about the fact that they signed him for what 37 million, something like that, 43 million in add-ons, and Arsenal signed Ben White for 50 million.
Yeah, isn't it unbelievable that Arsenal have spent the most in the whole of the transfer window?
Yeah.
Who have they got?
Aaron Ramsdale for 24 million. Odegaard, who obviously was there last season, so we know what he can bring to the Premier League, and so with the rest of the players, he's not an inspired signing for me. Obviously they brought in Lakonga, they brought in Tavaz, but again, these are all kind of backup average players. There's nobody there for me that goes, oh, Arsenal are going to be challenging, no chance. So they've spent a lot of money, but they've gone for quantity rather than quality, in my opinion.
But one thing I would say is that they've got a lot of young players, so I think that's what they've got going for them.
Yeah,
they don't have to go for them much, but they are young players, so they do have that potential.
And I'm sure those young players will thrive in the Championship. Yeah, I'm sure they'll do really well in the Championship. But yeah, anyway, moving on to the games.
Yeah, let's move on to the game, shall we? So the next game we're going to talk about is the Brentford-Aston Villa match. Now, this match finished 1-1. I think two really, really good, strong sides this season. I think they'll both do well this season. What do you think, Joe? What do you think of the match?
I thought it was a good match. I think Brentford, as we both thought, they've acclimatised quite well. 5 points from their opening 3 games, which I think any Brentford fan would have taken. You know, they've done quite well. Who are they playing? Sorry, I've literally brain dead.
It was Aston Villa, Brentford.
Aston Villa, yeah. So both these teams, I think, Aston Villa have spent their money wisely. You know, I think they really have. You look at someone like Danny Ings coming in, obviously Leon Bailey as well. You know, they've got other players that they've brought in that really, really, I think, have kind of not filled the hole, but they've set up a system now where they can play a different way without Grealish. You know, it's time for someone to shine like Bakuda as well. Do you know what I mean? They signed him as well, so they've not been skimpy with the money. I think they really have done well so far. What it seems like to fill that Jack Grealish hole. So I think the recruitment there, they've done pretty well in the transfer window, I think. And yeah, 1-1 against Brentford. Good game. 2 high intensive teams. You know, and a fair result at the end of the day.
Yeah, and first Premier League goal for Ivan Toney as well. Do you think he'll kick on now?
Yeah, potentially. I think he's got good build-up play as well. I think he's going to be a key man for them. Even if he doesn't score, you know, a hell of a lot of goals, I think he's going to be key for them in terms of kind of the build-up play as well. We saw that in the first game against Arsenal, seen that in the game previous to this one. So, you know, he's going to be key whatever happens, whether it be assists or whether it be goals. So, you know, hopefully for them he can kick on.
Yeah, for sure. So let's move on now to Brighton, Everton. Now this match finished 2-0 to Everton. Gray and Calvert-Lewin scored. So what a steal Gray has been for Everton, hasn't he? He's been unbelievable from so far.
Yeah, so far. I mean, this isn't me being a bitter Leicester fan. This is me being just an honest Leicester fan, and something to look out for with Everton fans with Gray. I think he started very, very well, but he started very, very well for Leicester. He started very, very well for Bayer Leverkusen. Scored a couple of goals. Scored, I think, 2 or 3 goals in his opening matches for them, and then they've now sold him to Everton for 1.5 million.
Isn't that a bargain at 1.5
Yeah,
million?
no, it is. But what I will say with him is, I think there is an attitude problem there. It's all well and good when stuff's going well for you. He's the type of player that when he's going through good form, you know, he's going through good form. He's a good player. I'm not denying that. But when he's going through a bad patch, like all players do, he tends to down tools. He's playing well at the moment for Everton. Again, I hope he does well. I do hope he does well because I did like him when he was at Leicester and he did play well. But I think there was an attitude problem within the club and stuff, and I can't see that have disappeared. I'm just putting a asterisk in this in terms of he started well, but it is only a start. If he needs to be more consistent for me. That's what I'm saying. And you know what? I hope he is for Everton. I hope he is. Um, I genuinely do like the fella, and I hope he does well. So we'll see what goes there. But he's done really well, and I think obviously Rafa Benitez, he is kind of the main signing for me for Everton. I think he's a top quality manager, and he's getting the way he's playing. He's playing to his players' strengths, crossing the ball into the box, getting those wingers, like you say, Gray in as well. Obviously, we've got Townsend as well on the other side. So he's really kind of catered for his style of play, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And 2-0, would you say that's a fair result for Everton?
Yeah, I would. Brighton, obviously, first loss of the season, so you can't be too down about that if you're Brighton. I think if you're a Brighton fan, you'd have started the season with 6 points, wouldn't you? So I think Brighton, again, they're going to have better days, and they're going to have teams that they're going to be able to match up against better as well. So I wouldn't worry if I was a Brighton fan.
Yeah, I agree. I think they've started well, much better than last season anyway. So let's move on to Newcastle, Southampton. Now, what a game this was. Newcastle went 1-0 up in the 55th minute with Wilson. And then Southampton equalised in the 74th. And then Newcastle thought they won it in the 90-plus first minute through St. Maximum. And then that man, Ward-Prowse, scoring a penalty. So it finished 2-2 in the end. Now, a good game for the neutral. So what did you make of it, Jay?
Yeah, good game for the neutral. I think looking at it, obviously Newcastle taking the lead twice, especially 91st minute, and then of course James Ward-Prowse getting a penalty at the end. I feel like where's the next win coming from for Newcastle? They needed to win this type of game. I think both teams did, because I feel like these two teams are going to be at the lower end of the table this season from what I've seen in the first 3 games. You can get more of a picture now, can't you, with the first 3 games? And you kind of get that sense. But it was an entertaining game, but I do worry for both these teams, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Do you think Newcastle are in trouble?
I do. I put them down as 12th at the start of the season, and I feel like that was way, way optimistic.
Yeah.
Just because obviously I thought Joe Willock, he's going to hit the ground running, and he really hasn't. He hasn't kind of done what I thought he was going to do, which was kick on from last season. But it is always different when you're a permanent player to when you're a loan player. When you're a loan player, you're on loan to impress your parent club. You're on loan to kind of impress the other fans, potentially seeing a move to them. I mean, there's other kind of aspects at play. So, yeah. Well, I mean, what do you think? These two teams, do you think they're in trouble?
I think Newcastle are in more trouble than Southampton, obviously. But I think Newcastle, obviously, we have. Well, Wilson has been doing well for them, but they don't have enough of a backbone, really, do they? I think I've always said they were going to be in trouble, and I think on and off the pitch, they look in trouble, don't they? So I would say, yeah, they are.
All right, next game.
So the next game is your team, Norwich Leicester. So I'll let you run through this one, Jay.
Yeah, well, I watched this game. Look, I mean, Leicester haven't really kind of excited me. I've got to be honest. I was saying to you that people, I don't want to turn anyone to those fans that isn't impressed even if we win. But I think we were playing what I consider to be a poor Norwich side. I think they will struggle this season. Obviously, I know we were away. We got the win. But I just feel like we're not clicking yet. And I know the thing is, when you watch a team week in, week out, like I do, you know how well your team can play. I mean, I'm sure you're the same with Forest, aren't you, Will? You know how well or how not well your team can play.
Yeah, it's more of a latter in Forest case.
I'm just using that as an example. You know how well your team play, and I know how well this team can perform, and it is just a little bit frustrating. I mean, obviously we lost 4-1 to West Ham the week prior. Obviously got a sending off, which was a sending off and stuff. But I just feel like at the moment we're lucky to be on 6 points basically, because we could have drawn against Wolves or even lost that game. And to be honest, we could have drawn or lost the game at the weekend. What I'm saying is the games that we've won have definitely been 50-50 battles. And realistically, I want to be seen as take the game away from teams like Norwich. No disrespect to Norwich, but I think we all know now that they're going to struggle this season again. They have had a hard run in terms of facing 3 of the top 5 last season, in obviously Man City, Liverpool and Leicester. But I just feel like, Leicester as a whole, they need to get going now. I need to see a game where we're in full control, or even a game where we perform really, really well, but we're not lucky. Do you know what I mean? I just don't feel like our performances have been great. But we are suffering a lot of the back. Vestergaard's been injured, which is great. Obviously, we've got Fofana out. We've got a couple of other guys out in defence as well. We haven't got Evans is out, so we haven't got that kind of experienced head at the back. Sionchu looks like a blind man at the back, I'm not going to lie, when he's not got Evans beside him, or Fofana for that matter. So, yeah, just a bit concerned, but 6 points out of 9, I'm not going to complain too much, but I'm just talking about the performance aspect. I'm not particularly happy with it. Yeah. So
I know what you mean. Yeah, I think it will be tough for you this season, particularly how all the other teams are strengthened as well.
It's difficult to say though, because I think Leicester are a team that tend to perform better against the kind of bigger sides, just because of the way they then become the possession teams. Your Man City, they're a possession team. Man U are a possession team against us. So that actually sometimes can suit Leicester, especially with Vardy, now Daka, who we're going to have on the break as well. Ian Nacho as well. So we've got players that can hurt you up the top end. So I think it does suit Leicester.
Yeah.
We're not trying to break down the block.
Talking about the Daka there, how do you think he's played so far? I know he hasn't played too much, but
he's not really played. The only time I've really seen him is when we were playing West Ham. He came on for like a couple of, I'm talking injury time against Wolves, so you couldn't really rate him at all there. And then the time that he did come on, he came on for about 10 minutes at the end of the West Ham game when we were already 3-1 down.
Yeah.
So you can't judge him there. Other than that, he's not really had a chance to show us what he's got. So he's not really had the in-game situation that you'd normally get to show us what he's got. So I can't really judge him on what I've seen so far. Do you know what I mean? Because the situations he's been in, you're not going to expect him to come on and change a 3-1 deficit when you're down to 10 men. It's just not happening. So, it's. I think he looks good in pre-season. He's a player that I would have kind of playing more than he is, but I'm not the manager, so.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So let's move on to Burnley Leeds, shall we? Now, Burnley were 1-0 up in the 61st minute, and I think a lot of us yeah, they could do it here. And then late on, that man, Patrick Bamford, scoring for Leeds to make it 1-1, and that's how it finished. What did you make of it, Joe? Obviously, this is the Sunday match.
I think it's one of those where I think Leeds will actually be disappointed with the start to the season. I think, especially losing the way they did against Man United. Obviously, they've got a couple of draws, but they just need to get churning again. I still worry for Burnley being in a relegation battle. I know it's difficult for me to say that because they've done well to be where they are, but I just think with the league strengthening it as it has, I look at teams like Crystal Palace, who I feel that have strengthened quite a lot to be one of those lower end teams. Brighton have now strengthened, brought in a couple of players. You look at the teams that are in and around them, and I just do worry for Burnley a bit. But we'll see what happens. I think both teams would have taken a point before the game. So yeah, happy with that.
Yeah, and obviously it was Burnley's first point of the season as well, so especially happy just to get something. And the Leeds match, you never know what's going to happen, do you? So
No, not at all. Not at all.
yes, I think that's a fair result in the end. So moving on to Tottenham Watford. Now, I don't know what happened here. Tottenham won 1-0 and they put them at the top of the table. But I think Watford gave a really good account of themselves, didn't they? What did you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, you know how we were saying sort of, I've been kind of saying teams who I'm worried for. I'm gonna do the reverse now. I'm actually less worried for Watford than I thought I would be at this stage.
Yeah, they've started really well.
Yeah, they have. Obviously, I know they've lost. I think they lost last week, didn't they? I didn't quite catch that result. They lost last week, and they obviously lost this week. But they're not losing games by a big amount. Obviously, they've already got 3 points, so they're off the mark. Yeah, I think they'll fancy their chances of staying up. So, I think good on them. I think Tottenham, obviously, good result. Kane's now back fully in the side and stuff. New stadium, rocking. They've got it. They're going in the right direction. I just don't think Tottenham have got it in them to win anything this season. I'm not saying that they won't get into the top 4 or anything, but I am because I already have said that. But yeah, I think only time will tell with Tottenham because I think they are notoriously quite fast starters, and then it kind of paves away mid-season. So,
but you never know. This could be the season.
Yeah, how many teams have said that?
Yeah, exactly. It'll be real tough. Moving on to the final game of the weekend, Wolves Manchester United. Now, before I talk you to about this show, I just want to say that Wolves, they had so many chances. De Gea made that awesome double save. I know we've been critical of De Gea, but he was unbelievable in the match.
Now I'm gonna.
Wolves are the new expected goals
Yeah,
champions of not scoring. They've taken
I'm,
Brighton's trophy, haven't they, Joe?
yeah, I'm gonna go straight on to Wolves in this scenario. I think they are extremely, and this is having watched them against Leicester as well. They're extremely unlucky to not have any points from their opening 3 games because they've lost them all 1-0, I believe.
Yeah.
And they've arguably been the better team. You could argue that they've been the better team in all 3 of them. You can quite clearly see what their new manager's trying to do, and to have no points coming into the 3rd game is not fair. I mean, I know we say that you make your own luck and stuff, but you do think it's not fair. Think back to the Leicester game. Traore had 2 one-on-one opportunities. Connor Cody had a goal, rightly so, chalked off for offside. Do you know what I mean? So they had their opportunities, and in this game they had quite a few opportunities as well. Obviously, like you say, De Gea made a great double save, and I just feel like they're very unlucky. United, obviously they've got 7 points. I don't think they were. I was actually with the United fan when the game was being played. I don't think they'll be very happy with the performance. A lot of fans were saying the similar sort of line of, oh, good, good result, get 3 points, but not happy with the performance. A bit like what I've been saying about Leicester. So yeah, I think obviously I'd be happy if I was a Man United fan because you 7 points, you're in there, but. And with the signing of Ronaldo, but yeah, they could have easily have lost this one. Never mind drawing.
Yeah, for sure. But I just want to touch upon Wolves again. I think Traore, I should say, is a perfect reflection of Wolves, where they're amazing. The build-up play is amazing with strength, power, blah blah blah, creating all the chances, but he's just not clinical, is he? And I think Wolves have not been clinical, and I think. In some ways, I saw against Forest. I know Wolves beat Forest 4-0 in the cup, but Wolves had about 40 chances. And to only score 4, that's a poor ratio.
Yeah,
They need to be more clinical. They need to, because it's not just over 1 game now. It's over 3 or 4 games, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's the fact that I feel I say this about Traore. There's so many fans who love him. He's got raw pay. He's the fastest player I've ever seen. You can't touch him. You literally can't touch him. If he's got space to run into, you might as well just let him run past you. Like, he's that quick. I like when he comes on, I get nervous and stuff. But then you realise he hasn't got any end product. If he had end product, do you imagine how much he'd cost?
Unbelievable.
If he
Yeah.
had end product, how much he would cost? Because you know, he's had opportunities. I can't believe how quick he is. He's frightening. But then when you realise he can't finish, you're almost like, well, let him go through then. You know,
Yeah.
it's one of those. I mean, honestly, Will. I mean, I remember I was saying he had a couple of one-on-one opportunities with Schmeichel when they were playing Leicester. There was a point, right? He got through. He was straight for on goal. Obviously, nobody could touch him. Nobody was near him. And I thought, oh my god, they've got a one-on-one chance. And then my head went, nah, it's all right. It's Traore. And that's before he missed a chance.
Yeah.
That's genuinely what I was thinking, right? And I think as a fan, if you're scared of the pace, you are scared of the pace because that's naturally what you see first. But then when he gets through, I don't think there's many fans that are worried when he's actually got the space because he can't finish. He literally can't finish. And I'm just thinking,
Yeah, for sure.
to myself, mate, just work on your finishing, do something because you could be worth so much to Wolves and to other clubs. Like, it's just frustrating to see somebody blessed with that much pace.
Yeah, 100%. But we saw that years ago. I remember when he was playing for, I think it was Middlesbrough against Forest. Exactly the same story. Exactly the same. So it's definitely something he needs to work on for a while.
Yeah, well, he's. I don't think it's ever going to change now because he's not exactly a young player anymore, is he?
But you can still practice a bit more, try a bit more clinical. But I think his pace, he's not in control of it because he's moving so quickly. It's harder for him to control the ball. I think that's the key reason, isn't it?
I'm gonna throw out a term to you now. I want to see if you agree with it, but I'm gonna call him a novelty player. He seems like a novelty player. He's like a player that you'd love to have in your collection. I mean, you'd love to have in your team to say, "Oh, look how quick he is." You know, come and see Traore. Look how quick he is. You know what I mean? He's amazingly paced, but he's not a player that's going to help you win games, or he's not a player that's going to kind of really help you at the top end of the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? I think
for sure.
That's kind of what I'm trying to say. And it's annoying because of how quick he is. It's like, oh, you've got so much pace. If you could only finish, you'd be so good.
Yeah, but on that note, that rounds up our Premier League roundup for the last round of fixtures. Obviously, it's an international break now, so I'm gonna hand it over to Joe for the Joe Asks, Will Tells.
Right then, I'm going to ask you this. I've had this question for quite a while. Again, this could be anything. Will doesn't know what I'm going to ask him. So I'm going to ask you this. Financial fair play, as you understand it, does it work? And if not, why not? And if so, why so?
Oh, you really put the cat amongst the pigeons there, didn't you, Joe? It's such a complex issue. There's so many issues with it. Okay, I should have prepared for this, but this is why you caught me off.
Yeah.
So, I think that per se, because there's a lot of owners where teams have gone under through bad ownership, bad blah blah blah. But there's still key issues. Parachute payments, for one example, we use it so teams can stay afloat after the loss of revenue from the Premier League. But teams take advantage of that. Have a look at Norwich. Norwich, I think it is, where they are literally yo-yo club. They go down, get parachute payments, go back up and down until makes money. But fair play, they have broken even. And football, one of the key reasons why it's in, because football is so unsustainable. We've seen this we've spent billions of pounds in the transfer window. Like, it is needed. Like, football is not a sustainable business. If this carried on growing exponentially like it is, it won't. Something has to give, and I think something is starting to tell. So this is why financial fair play is, on paper, is a good thing, but there's so many grey areas where always it's not always black and white, is it?
No, and I
Like
think
it's so subjective. Teams can bend the rules and everything. It's just, I'm gonna ask you, Joe, what do you think of it?
I just think there's a lack of understanding there, and what I mean by that is from the kind of the players to the clubs to the fans. You know, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, you know, obviously I understand financial fair play up to a point, but there is so much about it. You talk about those grey areas that fans don't understand. Fans like us don't understand. So you get one team that you look at Man City, for example. You know, they were seen to have broken financial fair play rules, and then all of a sudden it went away. Now, I'm not saying that they did break any rules, but why were they being sanctioned in the first place? Do you know what I mean? If if UEFA or whatever thought they were sanctioning some rules, that's why they were doing what they were doing, and it then leads to this confusion of Pep Guardiola saying to the fans, "Well, we didn't break any rules. I don't even know why this was in place. This, that, and the other." But you've got to question, why were they being investigated in the first place, and why were they going to be sanctioned? And then it mysteriously just went away. Now, I'm not kind of blaming Pep for that. I'm not blaming Man City for that. What I'm saying is because financial fair play for me in certain aspects. I get the parachute payments, I get all of that, and I get kind of how clubs are supposed to operate. But when there's certain elements of it that are shrouded in mystery, you do sometimes go like, we don't even know what's going on. I think realistically, for me, I don't know whether you agree, Will, but it needs to be simplified for the fans so that we understand what clubs are supposed to do before they get sanctioned. Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes as fans of these clubs, you're like, well, my football club's been sanctioned or my football club hasn't been sanctioned. Why is that? How have we got away with that or how are we not?
But
I mean,
I think that it is way this. I don't think I'll ever be the case because, like,
no, I agree. I agree with that completely. I'm just saying that that's something that I would like to see. It's never going to happen, but
yeah, I think there's just too many grey areas in general. I think if you simplify it, they'll create even more grey areas in the way.
yeah, and I think if you simplify it, there's possibly going to be more loopholes. So
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very complex issue. I think way beyond our pay grade. I know I have a degree in it, but even like top professionals don't really understand it.
no, no, exactly. And I don't think if that's the case, I don't think clubs understand a lot of it.
Yeah, for sure, it is very complicated. Now, I think on that note, anything else you want to add, Joe?
No, no, nothing else to add. Obviously, we'll be coming back with you next week. We'll be doing the international roundup as we are on the international break. We'll be just going through the results, probably of the home nations more so, and any key results that we see. Obviously, back on international duty from the Euros, so it's going to be exciting. Obviously, England versus Hungary tonight. What are you feeling for that one, Will?
I think you have to fancy England, but obviously Hungary have looked quite good, obviously in the Euros as well. So only time
I
will
think
tell.
it's a weird one for England because I think if they win tonight, the group's almost, and I say almost to cover my back, almost wrapped up, isn't it then? Because that'd be 12 points out of 4 games. And I can't see the two teams I can see upsetting England are Hungary and Poland. And of course, we've already beaten Poland.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
So it'll be very interesting indeed,
so if
won't it?
we're gonna wait, remember we've got Andorra and San Marino in the group as well. So you know, it's not a group that San Marino and Andorra, no disrespect to those teams, but you'd expect at least a 5-0 win on both those counts. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So obviously we're not too worried about England, are we? But so I
no,
think on that note, Joe, thank you very much for joining me as always.
yeah,
Make sure you give the video a like and make sure you follow us on all our socials. Links are all below, aren't they, Joe? And anything else?
and Yeah, and just quickly on our Instagram this week, there will be updates and little kind of mini things on our story and that. So if you want to kind of come along and enjoy that, then feel free to do that. Remember to give us a like and subscribe.
Awesome, Joe. And on that note, I'll